Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Knights of Fire Battle for Budapest, a game designed by Brian Train and David Tercey and published by Mighty Boards. This is a Kickstarter that is now arriving for Kickstarter backers. I unfortunately missed out on both Kickstarters for Days of Ire and Knights of Fire. I was kicking myself over it, no pun intended, so I did not want to miss out on this one. I'm still on hunt for Days of Ire, but I did get in touch with someone who was looking to give up their copy that they backed, and I was able to get hold of this one. So now all I need is Days of Ire and I'll have the whole story. But let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. After the successful uprising on October 23rd, 1956, freedom and peace seemed at hand. But the hard-earned victory was not to last. On November 3rd, 1956, the Soviets arrest the Hungarian delegation, negotiating for the country's sovereignty, and order their troops to push towards Budapest. During the early hours of the next morning, the city wakes up to the sounds of tank and artillery fire. The Soviet counterattack, codenamed Operation Whirlwind, has begun. One player plays as a Soviet force advancing into Budapest as a powerful and unstoppable force, while 1 to 2 other players play as the Hungarian revolutionaries, slowing down the losing fight while evacuating civilians. Will the revolutionaries be crushed with an unquestioned Soviet triumph, or will the Soviet commander's reputation be forever tarnished for being held back by the meager revolutionary force? Otherwise, play the dedicated solo and cooperative modes where 1 to 2 players play against a clever Soviet AI force, both included in this box. And you can see here the components that come with the game, the map, the counters, the blocks, and it says here the game contents: 1 game board, a rulebook, 83 cards, 30 wooden blocks with stickers, 59 cardboard tokens, 4 glass bead markers, 1 6-sided die. It is for 1 to 3 players, 60 to 90 minutes, ages 14 and up. So let's take a look inside the box and see what you get. All right, we have our rulebook, a couple of player aid cards, counters, our map board, cards, a Noel and Yuri promo, our glass tokens, a D6, and our stickered blocks. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the matted map board that comes with Knights of Fire Battle for Budapest. I really like the color palette, the iconography, the fonts used. It's very evocative of mid-50s Soviet era. You have the 2nd Guards Mechanized Division, 33 Guards Mechanized Division, and the 128th Guards Rifle Division. Their approach vectors into the city of Budapest. The entire city is broken down into multiple districts, which is what these areas are that you see here. You're going to be placing out your units on the board, insurgents and civilians, and the intent is to fight the Soviets as long as you can and delaying action to get the civilians on the way to the Austrian border box. And for the Soviets, they're going to want to kill the insurgents and arrest the civilians and increase their prestige, which is over on the right-hand side. The revolutionaries, their morale is over on the left, and the readiness is up on the top. So everything you need for the game state is right here on the board. And we'll take a look at a few of the Soviet tactics cards here in the game. The Soviet player is going to have a hand of cards. They're going to be playing these cards to do different things. And like this is recon and probe. This is assault, move, clear, and garrison, move, recon, and probe. So you have the Soviet player will have different cards in their hand, which each can do different things, and they're going to have to play them at the right time. I'll take a look at some of the revolutionary cards now. You'll notice down at the bottom right corner there is a 2-player icon. This one does not have it. This is only used when you're playing with 2 players as the revolutionaries. Otherwise, that'll be taken out. The 1 player will only use the one without that icon. But you have different things you can do with it, like ambush, build barricades, ambush and counterattack, and ambush. And this is for your reinforcements here, this little loudspeaker icon. So different things again that you can use these for. And these are ops here. These ops are going to be used to remove civilians to the Austrian border. You're going to need 6 ops points, but there's ways to mitigate that and change that based on the state of the district that you're in. And here are some of the leader cards and their effects. This one here, you have an engineer. Place a barricade in any district with an insurgent. A diversion, you can cancel 1 arrest. And persuasive, cancel up to 3 damage from a single Soviet attack. So these leaders are very important in continuing the battle and delaying the Soviets as long as possible. And we have these Soviet headline phase cards. These will change based on different things that are happening on the board or not happening on the board. It says here, have no revealed insurgents in districts 5A and 5B. You will discard and get 1 prestige. If not, it'll be +1 to the Hungarian morale. Have no barricades on the map. you get +1 prestige and discard. Next round, if you don't, it is 1 random tactics card is unavailable. And this is aid from Poland. If you have active garrison in districts 8 and 13, you get 1 prestige and discard. And if you do not, it will be an immediate. Revolutionaries may remove up to 3 wounds. So these will definitely change things up and make it challenging for both the Soviet and the Hungarian player. And here's a look at the Marshal Konev cards. This is the Soviet AI that you'll be using when you're playing by yourself. Like you have Mobilize here, and it tells you to increase readiness by 1 and do all these other things: assault, probe, occupy, activate the second guard's mechanized division, and you have all these different steps underneath each of these cards. There is a deck of 12 of these when playing solitaire. Now we'll take a look at an example of a few of the blocks here. You've got Hungarian locals here and Hungarian fighters. Obviously, if they have weapons in their hand, they're fighters. If not, they're bystanders. And there are also different effects on them, like ambush, medic. You have blocking, and also bystander, which is that dove icon. And if they're killed, it's actually a -1 prestige against the Soviets. But nice quality. I really like the look of these blocks, and they're nicely stickered. They're going to look really nice on the table. And we'll take a look at the counter sheet that comes with the game. Along the top here, you have the Konev targeting cards for when you're playing the AI. Here's the Hungarian civilians. These are wound markers. On the opposite side is momentum markers. Here are some Soviet garrisons. These are Soviet regiments. These are barricades and rubble, and they look like they're going to pop right out. So nice thick chipboard, so good quality counters. And we'll take a look at the player aid cards. This is the first one for the conflict mode. This is when you're playing 2 to 3 players in opposed mode. 1 player is a Soviet, 1 to 2 players is a revolutionary. You have your tactics card options over here. We've already discussed these icons, which you saw on the cards. And then you have up here a little mark that says this is for advanced game only. Anything in these dark boxes, it looks like it's only for the advanced game. Then you have the morale adjustment here, round sequence and attack types. On the opposite side, you have the revolutionary card, same thing, unit op card functions. And again, if it's in dark, it is for the advanced game only. Morale adjustment, round sequence, and all the way down to the cleanup phase. And on the other player aid card, you have the revolutionary rules reference for the Konev when you're playing against the AI. Unit op card functions, morale adjustment, round sequence, and then Konev priorities are explained to you there when you're playing against the AI. Now we'll take a look at the rules for the game. This is a 28-page rulebook, but as it states here, the game does come with 2 rule sets. Anything in the gold outline is for the Konev rule set against the AI. Anything in the dark red here is for the conflict rule set, whether it's 2 or 3 players opposed, 1 as the Soviets, 1 or 2 as the revolutionaries. Gives you the overview and goal of the game, your components, a breakdown and explanation of all of those. And again, as you're seeing these Konev and conflict outlines here for the 2 different rule sets. So bear that in mind when you're reading through the rules. If you're going to play solitaire only pay attention to the gold, not to the dark red here. That's not part of what you're going to need when you're playing against the AI, and vice versa when you're playing conflict versus solitaire. You have your setup, setting up the board, setup reminders, and adjusting the difficulty. So as you play the game, if you find it too easy or too difficult, there's ways to adjust it. Flow of the game, the draw phase, and again, we get into the difference of conflict mode and the Konev mode for the tactics phase. For conflict, you're going to read this. For Konev, you're only going to read that. Reinforcement phase, a lot of illustrated examples to help you understand the game. Get into the operations phase, units on the board, revolutionary turn, a lot of illustrated examples, which is always great to see. It's really helpful to be able to see it visually, how to do these different steps. Open attack, medic in the advanced rules, because there is also a basic and advanced rule set. Defy only in the advanced rules. Then we get into the whole thing for the conflict. This is a whole conflict area. Again, not for when you're playing solitaire. This is the solitaire area with illustrated examples. Adjustment phase, the morale adjustments, tactics adjustments, cleanup phase, the game end, and that is it on page 20. So as you can see, there's a lot of rules that are kind of put in all these pages, but not everything is going to be applicable to the game you're playing, whether you're playing solitaire or you're playing it opposed. Then you have a historical essay starting on page 21, and that goes for a couple pages here. Then you have Brian's designer notes on page 24. That goes for a couple pages. And then we end up with the Yuri and Noel promo for Days of Ire, which comes in this game. I have it, but it's only for the Days of Ire game, and the rules on how to use it for that. And to make the presentation a little nicer, I got the Red Army pack as well, which adds these neat little miniatures. They're not required for the game, but I think they really do add a nice look to the game. These gun tubes are all bent, so they're going to need a hot water and a cold dip to straighten them out. Same for the sniper here. And these soldiers here did have a little bit of a problem. I got a couple of them that had arms coming off, and 2 of them have no arms on them. So I don't know if this is a problem only I had with mine or if this is something that other people have had as well. But I'll see if I can get replacements for these somehow. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Knights of Fire Battle for Budapest, a game designed by Brian Train and David Tercey and published by Mighty Boards. And if you back this on Kickstarter, you've probably already gotten your pledge already. If not, it's on its way to you. Those who missed out on the Kickstarter are going to want to look for it in retail fairly soon. If it's not already available, I'm not sure on that. But this is the second part in the series. The first part is Days of Ire. The second is Knights of Fire. And one thing is, it's a Brian Train game, so I'm interested because he does Insurgencies incredibly well. He really does know how to drill down into the conflict and draw you into it and see both sides of it. The insurgency as well as the government force that's trying to crack down on the insurgency. And I find that really interesting and compelling, especially in a situation like this. It's a foregone conclusion you're going to lose for the Hungarians. It's just, you're not going to be able to defeat the Soviets. The key is, how long can you hold off, and can you force the Soviet commander out by dropping their prestige enough? You're going to lose the game, but at least you will get the moral victory, which will be huge for your countrymen, even though they're going to be oppressed by the Soviets. But really interesting topic, and a very playable game. And the best part about it is you can play it from 1 to 3 players. If it can be played solitaire, it's definitely a game for me, that's for sure. But I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about the game. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.